Everybody who plays MLB The Show always wants to complete the MLB collection reward, and this year we have probably one of the greatest collection rewards ever in this 99 Carlos Beltran. I mean, looking at his stats, he's just insane, best card in the game by far. But, regardless, there are some collections that are worth more, some collections that have better rewards. So today I'm going to be going over my rankings for all the collections in Diamond Dynasty in live series only and putting them on a tier list. Really quickly before we get started, I'm still doing a MLB The Show 25 giveaway on my Twitter. The winner will be announced tomorrow. If you're watching this, the date will be posted, so go enter. Starting off with the D tier, we have Joey Wendell, Gary Carter, DJ LeMahieu, Justin Morneau, Orlando Cepeda, and Eloy Jimenez. Starting off the D tier, we have Joey Wendell. Now, a lot of these cards are going to kind of fluctuate on how expensive they are, and there's definitely a positive correlation of more stubs you need to spend, better card as it should be, but there are some that are really good and you don't have to spend much, and there's some that you have to spend a lot and it's not really good. That's the whole point of this video, but regardless, Joey Wendell, this card is nothing special. I mean, you don't have any diamonds in the Rays collection, but you only get this 81 overall, who really can only hit for contact and a little bit of defense and speed. This Gary Carter card is probably the worst of the 30 collection awards. I mean, this card is so bad. Offensively, he only has good vision. I mean, his highest hitting stat besides vision is 65. That is really bad, and it's not even like his defense is good. His defense isn't good. This is the worst card in collections. DJ LeMahieu is also going to be in the D tier now. He's a little different because he has 120 contact versus lefties, which is very good and which is elite. It's probably the highest in the game right now, in all honesty. But, his power is just atrocious. His contact rate is pretty good. His clutch is pretty good. But he's going to be noodle bat. All he can do is hit singles, and he has good fielding, but he doesn't have a good arm. And he does have good reaction, so, he can really only hit for contact. He's kind of like Joey Wendell, but with a little higher contact versus lefties and much worse power. Next up, we have Justin Morneau from the Twins. Now, he's a great power bat versus righties, and that's about it. Atrocious defensively, atrocious versus lefties. The clutch helps him for his low contact, but he literally only has good power versus righties and clutch. There's nothing else this card brings you. Orlando Cepeda is kind of exactly like DJ LeMahieu. He has maxed out contact versus lefties, pretty solid contact righties, and good clutch. Nothing else, though. I mean, at least the LeMahieu had pretty good defense. This card has pretty bad defense. And lastly, in the D tier, we have Eloy Jimenez from the White Sox. I wanted to put him higher because I love his swing and I love his cards, but you just can't compare him to the other cards in these collections. Yeah, he has good power versus righties, and his attributes offensively will probably play above 70 because his swing is so good, but the clutch is 55, which hurts him, and the defense is putrid, like really bad. Moving on to the C tier, we have Brooks Robinson, Enrique Hernandez, Rob Nen, Greg Maddux, Larry Walker, and Bill Mazeroski. Starting off the C tier, we have Brooks Robinson from the Orioles. Now, you're going to have to buy 2 diamonds and a bunch of golds, and it's not worth it. Brooks Robinson is the greatest defensive player in the history of baseball, but he wasn't not good at offense. He was just not like Hall of Fame offensive, if you get what I'm saying, and it kind of reflects in his cards, and then will be the show. I don't think I've ever used a Brooks Robinson card in ranked, and this card, not the best offensively, but he is going to be great defensively. Next up, we have Enrique Hernandez from the Red Sox. Now, this card I think is deserving of C tier instead of D tier because he's got the power versus lefties, and he's not awful but not great. In the rest of the hitting stats, the clutch does help him for his contact. He does have good defense, and he has good defensive flexibility. He can play center, second, and short. I just think that his cards are always really good. I like his swing, and I think that I would take this card over the other golds any day of the week because he's a lot more balanced offensively. Besides the 90 power, everything else is at least playable. Now, we have an 80 overall gold in the C tier, not in the D tier, and it's Rob Nen, and it's strictly because he's a reliever, in all honesty, and there aren't that many good relievers. 4-seam slider splitter. Pretty solid pitch mix for a reliever. You like at least a 4th pitch. Control is not good. The break is good, though. But he throws super hard. He has good per nines. He has good pitching clutch. He can bring you a lot for an 80 overall, considering how cheap the Marlins are. I think he's worthy of C tier. It's kind of crazy that an 86 overall starter is on the same tier as an 80 overall reliever, but I think it logically makes sense. This Greg Maddux card, not really the best. Yes, he always has a great pitch mix, but he does not have any velocity. Yeah, he has pretty good control and break, but he can't throw hard. He doesn't have good per nines. He doesn't have good pitch and clutch. All this guy has is a good pitch mix and good control. Larry Walker is another diamond in the C tier. This guy is not the best diamond. He's going to be above D tier strictly because he's a diamond and he's a little more juiced than the C tier cards. But overall, good against righties, good clutch, but lefties just not good and defensively really bad. Rounding out the C tier, we have Bill Mazeroski, another guy who I just feel like is never used in this game, and he's never really that good. I have him in the C tier kind of just because he's great defensively, he has good vision, and he at least has contact, but that power is just really bad. Discipline's really bad. Like, nothing that excites me about this card, really. Moving up to the B tier, we have Gary Sheffield, Jeff Bagwell, Ryan Howard, Reggie Sanders, Kyle Seager, and Paul Molitor. Starting off the B tier, we have Gary Sheffield from the Tigers. I think that this card is at the bottom of the B tier. I was considering C tier, but I think he's a little better offensively than the guys below him, who also have similar defensive numbers. Pretty balanced hitter across the board, but nothing too special. I mean, he's in the 70s and the 80s with 83 clutch, which helps him versus lefties. The vision and the discipline are great, but, I think he just barely should be above the guys that I just mentioned. Jeff Bagwell is kind of similar. I was thinking about C tier, but his contact numbers are super high. His clutch does hurt him, but not by much. Does have, decent power versus lefties, and defensively he's not terrible. So I think this card is around average, which is B tier. Now Ryan Howard, if you literally just look at his stats versus righties, S tier. If you look at everything else, not S tier. Dude, he's just so bad in literally every other facet of this card besides clutch. Lefty stats, not amazing. Vision is not good. Defensively awful. No speed. Those stats versus righties are single-handedly putting him all the way to B tier. New legend Reggie Sanders. I've never used him, of course, because he's a new legend. But overall, this card looks pretty solid. Offensively, he's good in 3 of the 4 hitting stats. Just contact versus right, which isn't good, and which clutch will help him, but it does hurt him versus lefties, not good vision. Pretty solid defensively and good speed. I think this card is definitely better than, Larry Walker or Enrique Hernandez. Kyle Seager, another guy who is really good against lefties and okay against righties. Clutch is really bad, but he's good defensively. He can play third and short. I think this guy is kind of like Ryan Howard, where his stats versus lefties instead of righties with Howard is kind of carrying him to the B tier. And lastly, in the B tier, we have Paul Molitor. Paul Molitor is another guy who I don't ever really use in ranked, but just on paper with the attributes, I think he's B tier. Great contact, vision, and clutch. No power, no discipline, no defense, decent speed. I think this card, the contact and vision alone will put him in B tier. In the A tier, we have Al Leiter, Steve Finley, Michael Young, Gaylord Perry, Johan Santana, and David Justice. Starting off the A tier, we have Al Leiter. I always love Al Leiter cards in this game. I will say one thing. Oh, he does have the changeup. Oh, I was just about to say he doesn't really have the strikeout pitch, but he does. I really like this Al Leiter card. I love Al Leiter cards, and they finally gave him a changeup. That was the one thing that I would, criticize him for, but I just noticed that they gave it to him. I still don't think he's S tier worthy because of the hits per 9 and the control, but everything else is very good. I mean, great pitch mix, great clutch, pretty solid velo. This is a great starter. Michael Young is also going to be in the A tier. This is a guy who is probably like the exact same card as Paul Molitor, but just better. I mean, the contact and the clutch are better. The vision is better. The defense is a little worse, though, and the power is, I think, a little better, but I think overall this is a better card than someone in the B tier. I think this is a really good offensive card. The power is probably going to play above his attributes because his contact is so good, but he is really bad defensively, so that is going to hold him back from S tier. Steve Finley, another A tier card. I think his swing is the same. It should be, but his swing is butter. It's so good. Contact is not the best. Clutch is around the same, but the power is good. The defense is good. He can only play center field, though, which is interesting. But I think if those contact numbers were higher, then I think he'd be an S tier. Maybe his arm strength, too. Gaylord Perry, a new legend. He was in the game a while back, in I'll be 17 or something. I don't remember when he was removed, but he is back. Four-seam slider, curveball, forkball, sinker. It's an interesting pitch mix. I think he's A tier. He's definitely better than Greg Maddux, but he's definitely not an elite starter, in my opinion. You know, solid per nines, good pitch and clutch, but he doesn't throw too hard. Has decent control, good break. I think A tier. Now, this Johan Santana card, I would 100% put in S tier, but his velocity isn't good enough. His per nines aren't good enough, and his pitch mix not good enough for S tier. I think on paper this is a good starting pitcher card. I'm not saying it's not a good card. That's why it's an A tier. I just don't think that he has enough juice to be an S tier in the per nines and the velo. Lastly, in the A tier, we have David Justice. This is kind of exactly like Kyle Seager, but more juiced offensively. You know, he's got the clutch, he's got the stats for lefties. He's also pretty solid against righties, and the clutch will help him. Defensively, he's terrible. I think if he had, like, silver defense, he'd be S tier, but overall, very good card. Finally, in the S tier, we have Paul O'Neill, Whit Merrifield, Mike Napoli, Trevor Hoffman, Fernando Valenzuela, and Liam Hendriks. Starting off the S tier, we have Paul O'Neill. I love this card. I did the Yankees collection. This card is amazing. His swing is so good. Good contact and clutch. Okay power. Good defensively. This card is a beast. His swing is so good. Whit Merrifield, also in the S tier. I also have this card, and I also really like this card. Yeah, his power isn't amazing, and his discipline isn't amazing, but his swing is so good. He is really good contact wise, and it does play well into power on lower difficulties in All-Star. His defense is good, his speed is great, he can play 5 positions. This card is very valuable. Now, I think Mike Napoli is the best card in the game, the best catching card in the game. Yes, the clutch hurts him, and he's not great defensively, but where else are you going to find these offensive numbers from someone who can play catcher? 114, 101 versus left, 81, 88 versus right. Easily S tier, easily. Trevor Hoffman, great reliever. I mean, easily S tier. I don't think this card is actually, like, that good in a sense. But just based on all 30 collections, he's easily at S tier. I mean, great pitch mix, great per nines, really good clutch. Velo's never there with Hoffman, but he has insane control and good break. Fernando Valenzuela, also going to be in the S tier. Dodgers collection, good per nines, great pitching clutch. Also doesn't really have the velo. Pitch mix, could use a and a fifth pitch. But overall, the pitch mix actually plays really well together. I've used this card in the past. Definitely S tier. And lastly, we have Liam Hendriks from the Oakland A's. They're not the Oakland A's anymore, but regardless, another great reliever. 4-seam slider, curveball, changeup, good per nines, good pitching clutch, pretty solid control and break, throws hard. Great reliever. What more could you ask for? So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. If you guys are new here, follow me on all my social medias, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. But most importantly, make sure you subscribe on your YouTube. So yeah, see you guys next one. Peace.